Hello and welcome back. Hope you all doing well. In this episode, we will make our own custom buttons in the game. Instead of clicking the keyboard right now, as we have, we simply will have buttons in the menu to take us to playing and so forth. So let's get into the episode. But like the episodes before we start, we need to do some fixes that has arisen or something that I missed in the previous episodes. So to begin, let's add a little check to see why we need to change anything. So we'll go in my mouse listener. Why is it down there? It should be up here. So in our mouse listeners, we can remove this for now. We're gonna have a check to see the current position of the mouse when we click something. So we're just gonna make some simple if e.get button equals mouse event.button1. We're checking if we're clicking mouse button 1, which is the left mouse button. We're gonna do a little system.out.println. And we're gonna say mouse plus e.get x plus a little of that, and then e.get y. So every time we are inside, I'm gonna move to this. So every time we click the mouse, we get a position where the mouse is or where we clicked. So if we press around here, we should get close to 640, which we do. But if we click in the very top left of the corner inside our screen here, we get the position of 2x, which seems reasonable, very close to the end, but we get 39 for y, which is not correct. It should be very, very low, like 2 or something. That's because the J-frame requests focus from the input, so it takes in account for this title bar as well. But if we had a button right here that had a position, then it would be off by this much, as big as the title bar is in height. So we need to change that by moving the inputs from the J-frame to the J-panel. So let's get on and do that. And to begin, I will drag this game screen class. So we have two views of two different classes. And what we need to do is to move this code right here into this class. And that is not too difficult. We simply Control X. And we put it there, Control V. Then we take this as well and place it here. Clean it up a little bit. And we cannot say this anymore, we say game, because we still get the game object. We will not initialize the inputs from the constructor. We will change this to public. And we go down here where it says game init inputs, game screen init input, and remove that extra code. All right, so let's try it. I move it from with the keyboard, yes. So let's check our position now. Should be very close to 0, both of them. And it is. Perfect. So now everything is complete. We ignore the title bar for our position with the mouse, so we can get into the episode without having any weird bugs where we wonder why I'm clicking the button, nothing happens. So now let's make our custom button. And for our custom button, we will make a new package, because we might need different sections or different parts later on for our user interface. But we'll make a new package here. Right now we only have the button, but user interface package, and in it we will create our new MyButton. Yes, and why is it starting down here? I don't get it. We can close that, we don't need to. And our button will have a constructor, MyButton, and it will take in a few variables, such as an int x, int y, int width, and a height. And of course we want something to be written on the MyButton as well. So we say string text, and all of this needs to be stored somewhere. So we say private int x, y with height, private string text. And we say this dot text equals text. So now that is done. And in our button class we will need a public void draw, because we need to draw graphics G. We need to draw the button if we call this. I'm not good with spelling today. Yes, I am. And what else? Of course, we need something called a private rectangle bounds. And this is simply a class already existing in java.avt that we use to check if our mouse is inside this bounds. So it's pretty much just a rectangle with a size, with a width, height, and a position. And if we click, we check is our mouse X and Y inside this bounds. If it returns true, then we click the button and we do some action. If it's not, then we do nothing. But we need to be able to get the bounds. So we say public rectangle get bounds, return bounds. Nothing special, just a simple getter. And we also need a private to initialize the bounds. Private void init or set, not set bounds, that's wrong. Init bounds, it's good enough. This dot bounds equals new rectangle, and we can pass in the values x, y, with height. There we go, and then down here we say init bounds. That looks good for now, but in here we will have all the necessary code for drawing the button. So I'm purposely gonna make it look a little bit weird to begin with, but we say g.set color, color.black. Let's see what we start with. We should probably start with the body, then we have border, and then we have text. So we're gonna start with the body. G.set color, let's begin with white, and then we say g.draw, no, the body will be a fill rect, and that is all good. Then we change the color and we say the border g.draw rect, since a fill rect is we're filling the entire rectangle, and here we only draw the border of said rectangle. And for the text we say g.draw string, draw string, we already have one, and all of those values is already up here. So now when we create a button and call the draw, we draw the body, which is white, the same size as we give it, and the border, and then the text. And we're gonna change up the position of the text, and it's gonna look a little bit messy for now. So let's create our first button in the menu class. In our render method, we can go in here and, you know what, let's just remove these images. They don't really do anything good, and yeah, let's just remove them for now. And in here we will have a new method called draw buttons. Draw buttons G. Create the method. Good. So now we have that. But we also need to create the buttons, of course. MyButton. We will have a button play. We will have a button settings. Yeah. And I have a button quit. If we want to quit the game. Let's import a new class. And we will say init button. We need to create them as well, not just draw them. So here we will start with just the playing button. b.playing equals new MyButton. And in here we say play. And for these values we got, let's just try something. We say 100, 100. And they will be 100 wide and 30 in height. We'll see if they looks good. We can change these values, easy. And to draw buttons, we simply say button playing dot draw. And we can try if it works. It should work. And it does. But as I said, the play button or the button would look a little bit funky. The play text is outside the button bounds, but it should be in the middle, preferably in the center. So let's take a look at how we change that. And we do that by going in our button class and change some values here. Let's begin by saying we want the text to be starting in x plus width divided by 2. So now we got the center. That's where we start with the text. And also y plus height divided by 2 as well. And there's something called debug mode in Java, if you didn't know. And if we choose this one, we can change some values while coding. So we can change code and we can see it in real time, which is really, really cool. So let's just try it out. Save and open up, and now it moved. This is much easier if you have 2 screens, but it works. So if you have 2 screens, you can put this window on your other screen and change the values in real time and see the difference. Well, let's go back to that, but it's still not good. It's just where the text starts, but if the text was much longer, we can go hello and see how far it, as you see, it's not in the middle, it just starts in the middle. And to get it in the center, we also need to know the width and height of the very text itself. So let's make a new method where we say just draw text. Nothing, just so we don't clog up this. Come on now. Clog up too much mess here. So we just remove this and put it in the draw text method. And in here we can get a int.v for width equals, say, formatting.string width, and then the text. And now we have the width of the text. And in here we also say x plus width of the very text divided by 2. And we put it in front. And we cannot create new variables while in debug, but we can change the value. So we say restart. And let's see, that does not look good because we said plus, we should have minus. That looks much better. And to get the height, we go int height equals g.getFontMetrics.get height. Standard height of a line of text in this font is yes. It won't be perfect, but will be good enough. So plus the height divided by 2. And let's check how it looks. And it looks good. It's not completely in the center. It might be a little bit difficult to get it perfectly in the center. But yeah, let's go with this for now. But when I click it, nothing happens because we haven't told it to do anything. So let's change that up and let's add some functionality to the button. And we do it by going into our My Mouse listener, open it here, and we remove this text. I don't think we will ever check for right button click. So let's keep it as long as it's only the left mouse button. Yeah, we make a simple switch and we say game state game state dot game state. And I'm lazy add missing case statements. There we go. And before we do that, and we need to go into our game screen, but before that we say game private game and make sure we this.game equals game to make sure we pass in the game class. Then we go into our game screen and make sure we pass in the game class into our MyMouseListener. So we can use it, and in case we are clicking the left button and we are in the menu state, we say game.getMenu.MouseClicked. And we say e.getX, e.getY. And now we don't have that method, and since we will have it in all of our scenes, we go into our C method interface and say public void MouseClicked int x int y. So now we make sure that we're adding it to all our scenes. That's why settings are red as well as playing, because we haven't added them. Add unimplemented. We go in settings, add unimplemented. Yes. And in our menu, why is it red? That's because we still haven't added it. Add unimplemented methods. And here we do something very simple as if be playing.getTheBounce. We check if it contains. And in here we can check for a lot of different things, but we're looking for X and Y. And if that's the case, we say we actually need to add something to our GameStates class, which is public static void set GameState. And here we say GameState GameState equals state. There we go. And in menu, we go in here and say set game state. And we say playing. Let's see if I can import it or it won't cooperate. All right, that's fair enough. We just go up in here and say import main, import static main dot game states dot take everything. Oops. Save, and now it should be, yeah, perfect. So let's try out if it works. So now if I click the button, we should go to the playing state. And we did. Perfect, it's working. This is good, but there's no feedback that we are moving across the button. We want some feedback that we are moving the mouse across the button, mouse over, as well as when we click it, we want it to be pressed down, and then when we release it, it takes us wherever we need to go. So let's start out with the MouseOver bit. And we begin in the draw function of MyButton, and let's add a draw body, G, so we can easily see what we're doing, and it's very easy to read the code. So we just move that over here. And what we want to do is change white to gray if we are mousing over the button. So we make a boolean up here, private boolean MouseOver, and we go to draw body and we say if mouse is over, g.set color dot gray. Else we say the color is white. All right, and now we need some way of telling it to set the mouse over. Public void set mouse over, boolean mouse over, this dot mouse over equals mouse over. Now that is working, and we go to our mouse listener. Here we have MouseClicked. We can actually take this. So we take this code. And then we go to mouse moved here. and say, depending on what game state, we say mouse clicked, but we say remove that and say mouse moved. E.getX, same as for mouse clicked, but for mouse moved. Get Y. But this function doesn't exist yet, so we need to add it. Go to our scene methods and make sure we get it for every class. Void mouse moved int x int y. And to our menu add unimplemented methods, mouse moved, mouse clicked. So we say if we can take the same here. If contains it, we say be playing.set MouseOver true. But every time we move the mouse, we also need to tell it to be reset. But we can show how it works. Let's just check if it works. It's not gonna run actually. We need to go in here and say the same, add in unimplemented playing. There we go. I think it should be able to run now. Yes. So if I move the mouse over the button, it should turn into gray. It did, but we need to reset it as well. And that's very simple as well. We go to our menu class. So before we check if it's true, we always reset it to false, because we're gonna have more buttons here. So we set all buttons to false, and then we check, and only the ones we're inside we will turn gray. So now it should be better. Look, custom button is working. Perfect. And the last part is to get some sort of feedback when we press the button, but haven't released yet. So let's add that by going into our button class to begin with. And in the border section, we make a new method, draw border G. And we move the code from that. What the hell? Here. And just like the MouseOver, we need a boolean for MousePressed. And we need a getter, or a setter, I mean, void set MousePressed, boolean MousePressed. Nope, MousePressed equals mouse. Yeah. To make it look like we're pressing it down, there's a few ways, but the simplest I think is to make a check here. If mouse is pressed, then we do one section, else we do the ordinary, the default. But usually I do it by adding more rectangles. Let's add 2 more. So we have one that starts 1 pixel in and one that starts another. It's 1 plus, no, -2, -2. And this one has +2, -4, and -4. I think that's gonna look good. And let's go over to our mouse listener, our mouse clicked. We take the switch and put it in here, and we also remove that, because we need to go in here and say public void int x int y. Done. Save. We get some errors. Let's go to menu, add in unimplemented methods. Let's copy, it goes faster. Do that to the other scenes as well as settings. Perfect. And we have one more error. Yeah, get menu dot MousePressed e.getX e.getY. Oh, there was one extra. That's better. And then over to our menu class, and here we can take the same section here. If we are inside the playing button, we say set MousePressed equals true. But to reset MousePressed, we can't really say up here, because then we only reset. We can take a look how it looks. Alright, it looks fine. But as you see, I'm pressing everywhere, but it's still pressed down, or looks like it's pressed down. But that's not really good, because we need to reset it in a different way. And we're simply going to reset it by using another mouse listener. We're going to use MouseReleased. So let's take the same one, switch, add it in here instead of MousePressed. We can remove it for now. Scene methods, public void MouseReleased. Int x, int y, save, menu. Gonna implement it all. Copy, do it to the other ones as well. Playing, save, menu, MouseReleased. Alright, so here we get an int x and y, but that doesn't really matter for this, because when we release it, we just want to reset all pressed, everything. So we say reset buttons. We can say reset buttons. Down here we say be playing dot set mouse pressed false. All right, so let's go into our mouse listener again, and then mouse released e.getX. And the reason why we have a x and y in the released is because later on we might need it for when we're placing a tower or something, so we make sure that we're still inside the button when we release the mouse. And we save it and we try to run it, and we should have something better. So this looks good, and MouseOver, pressed, away, released, moved. But we want to add, when we release it, we also want to reset the MouseOver. So we go down in our menu, release button. We can actually say, yeah, let's just add that function. Public void reset this dot MouseOver equals false. This dot MousePressed equals false. And any other booleans that we might reset, we just place it here, and then we call that instead. We reset booleans. Boom. Yeah, this looks much better. And you can try out different sizes of borders, different colors. Maybe the text should move as well or get highlighted. I'm not sure. It's all up to you. All we really need to do now is to add the remaining buttons in the menu, settings and quit. And also when we go to playing, we might want to have a button to go to menu up in the left corner. Later on we will make this window a little bit bigger so we have room for our user interface, either by down here or up here in the top, wherever we want it. So let's add the remaining buttons in the menu class. But I will speed it up because there's a lot of repetitive coding, but I will show you the end results. So let's go. While I'm speeding this part up, don't forget to leave a like if you like this type of content, and also subscribe so you don't miss out on any other upcoming videos. And if you have any questions, do you want to ask me, check me out on Twitter. Thanks. So if we look at our end result here for the buttons and the menu, everything seems to be working. Mouse over, pressing, we can navigate as we see fit, and we can also quit the game by clicking the quit button. If we take a look at our code right now, there's no different from our play button, menu button setting, menu, except for the quit button that terminates the program. And that's done with this line of code, System.exit. And the integer we pass in has no meaning for us in this instance or this case in this program. It's usually to look up potential problems that occurred when you close the program or terminate the program. But we're not in that scale. we have no use for it, so just a 0 is good enough, and I'll leave it at that. That is all, folks, for this episode. I hope you learned something about making your own custom buttons, as well as navigating through menus with the buttons. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to not miss out on the next episode. And also check me out on Twitter if you want to ask any questions about this episode or anything else code related. But until the next episode, I wish you all to have a great day, and I'll see you in the next episode. Take care. Bye.